Let's move on and let's talk about Florian Wirtz. Paul, you wrote in the Echo, I think it was yesterday, a couple of days ago actually now, about Florian Wirtz and the latest on that one. So this has been a very fluid story, so I'm gonna read out how I understand it, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. There was initial reports about Liverpool maybe having a meeting with Florian Wirtz or declaring an interest in him, with the general message being everyone expects him to either stay at Leverkusen or go to Bayern Munich. Manchester City were in these conversations as well. Since then, almost like WWE Fatal 4-Way style, like Man City have kind of been eliminated and we're down to 3.
Thrown over the top rope.
They've gone, and we're down from 4 to 3, and it looks like now it's Leverkusen, Liverpool, and of course Bayern Munich. Although Real Madrid might be sniffing around, might hear their theme music soon, and they storm into this one. Yeah. Again, I am very much reading tea leaves, and I am very much buying into social media buzz. But the buzz feels louder, especially from German sources who seem to think, where it's, like you wrote in your, Liverpool officials saying they think he's going to stay in Germany. Yeah. The news in Germany actually a little bit contradicts that. If they think actually this is a real battle now for Bayern Munich, and that Liverpool are very much in play for Florian Wirtz.
Yeah, I think that's entirely fair. I think Liverpool are playing it down because, if they don't get the player, it looks like they never really expected to get him, and there was a little bit pie in the sky and all that sort of stuff. You're not going to get people telling you Wirtz is nailed on and it's, very confident and all that sort of stuff. Certainly not at this stage. But maybe those noises are coming from Bayern at the other end. Maybe they're looking to play things down as well, because eventually, they fear a world where they don't care who is their primary target for this summer. By all accounts, what is happening now is Florian Wirtz is on holiday after his Bundesliga season. He is taking his time to make his next move, and that will be done with his parents, in discussion with them. His father Hans is his agent, and his mother Karen, they have sort of guided him to where he is now. A 22-year-old German international, Bundesliga winner, and one of the undoubted young stars of European football. So they are going to take the time. Leverkusen would like to keep him. I think that's fair to say, but if there is a world where he fancies a change of scenery, I think Leverkusen would ideally like him to move to the Premier League. And then, if that is the case, Liverpool will be front of that queue, because Manchester City have sort of calculated that it might be too much of an issue for them. Someone put it to me last week that this is maybe their Bellingham moment, where Liverpool decided sort of late on that actually this pursuit of Jude Bellingham is fool's gold, because there's no guarantee we're going to get him, and he's going to cost upwards of 100 million plus when other areas of the team needed a bit more attention. I think that probably is similar to where Manchester City are at the moment. You look at the season they've had, it's been awful, hasn't it, from their standards? No trophy, beaten in the FA Cup final. Are they guarantee Champions League football? I'm not actually sure at the moment. So they need a few things to look at themselves. So that, I think, makes a lot of sense. It's just a case of, if Wirtz fancies a change of scenery, then Liverpool will be, expect to be front of the Premier League queue at least. There's been a little bit of a thing from Xabi Alonso leaving, expected to go to Real Madrid, and he said that he doesn't need to make any promises overtaking Leverkusen's players. That was not necessarily him saying that he's not going to do it, but it was also him saying that, almost he might. He hasn't made a promise. So we'll see what happens on the Real Madrid front, but you'd imagine, they've just spent 50 million on Dean Huijsen, they've got Trent Alexander-Arnold coming in. Do they really need that sort of player at this stage for that price point? So I think it is very much down to Bayern Munich and Liverpool and Leverkusen who would like to keep him, and it's no decision made yet, and a lot of thinking time for Wirtz to do in the next few weeks.
It's interesting because the question I've got is, are Liverpool looking for a creative number 10, that type of player, maybe an upgrade on like Harvey Elliott, someone who scores? Because Arne Slot's just constantly spoken about goals from midfield, and he thinks that Liverpool should do more.
Yeah.
He name checks Szoboszlai in that conversation I was about to say. Or is this just a little bit like it felt with, like, maybe this player is just so good and he's come onto the market, and you go back to that word opportunistic again, where are they specific? Like, for example, if they don't get Florian Wirtz and he decides to go to Leverkusen, or he decides to go to Bayern Munich, stay at Leverkusen rather, or go to Bayern Munich, do Liverpool go, actually, we're not looking for a number 10? Or do they move on and then they're looking at like a Cherki, or they're looking at another number 10? Or do you think this is more a case of this lad is just that good and there's an opportunity in the market where we might be able to go and buy our next superstar player?
Yeah, I think it's more that than actually looking for, a stylistic number 10, because obviously Arne Slot loves Dan Szoboszlai in that position and played them there virtually every game this season, hasn't he? And he did say on Monday, which was interesting, that Szoboszlai prefers to play deeper, and he was giving him a little bit of a run out in that number 8 role, and I thought he played well, to be fair. I thought he had a decent game. But the thing that's interesting for me is we've spoken at length about Liverpool's need for a number 9, but would Florian Wirtz mean a change in style in terms of how Liverpool operate with their front men? Let's face it, they won the league without having a significant contribution from a number 9 this season.
Yeah.
Darwin Núñez has got a couple of important goals, the 2 at Brentford, the goal against Southampton to equalise. Diogo Jota, between them, we've got 11 Premier League goals, which isn't a huge amount, is it? Luis Diaz has been operating there at times. So is there a world in where Liverpool look to sort of continue with the wide players being the main source of goals, Diaz, Gakpo and Salah, and get someone like Florian Wirtz in the team to sort of aid that creativity that is going to be leaving the team via Trent Alexander-Arnold? I've seen a stat which jumped off the page at me for Florian Wirtz is since the start of last season in the Bundesliga, which is obviously the year that they won the league without losing the game, he's won the ball back in the final third the most times in the division. Now that to me is just Roberto Firmino-esque, isn't it? And you could almost argue, is there a case of him being another Firmino, where he plays central of the 3, and it's not necessarily an Alexander Isak who's going to be your sort of all singing, all dancing striker, but operating the role a little bit different and still looking to supply the wide players who will be, have the lion's share of goals. So I think there's a lot of things that are interesting about this tactically and stylistically, and also as well, it would be an unbelievable sort of, statement signing one of the, best players in Europe under the age of 23, I'd argue, and, that is why Bayern Munich are also at the table. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but at the moment, everything is pointing towards Florian Wirtz having a holiday, and maybe he'll do some thinking while he's away.
Absolutely. I wonder if how many people are on the phone to him trying to get him. Is there any convincing going on? We'll find out in due course. Yeah, if it's again, once City dropped out, my thinking was he's probably got his mind made up, or he's told them absolutely not. Because this idea, I just don't buy it. It feels like that, that. Because you mentioned before the Jude Bellingham thing of like Liverpool decided to go elsewhere. I kind of got the sense Jude Bellingham told Liverpool I'm probably going to go to Real Madrid. It probably was the other way.
A little bit of face shame going on.
Yeah,
there,
I was going to say, and that's the sense I got from City. Yeah, fair enough. They do need a lot of work on their team, but they are losing one of their greatest ever players. Kevin De Bruyne. And they do need a creative midfielder to come in. Like there's no doubt about it because. Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, that type of player. Phil Foden, I don't know what's happened to him recently, but so it felt like I wonder if someone somewhere either give City the nod that I'm not coming to use, or actually they've got word that they might have an idea where he is going. I saw David Ornstein report, City believe that he's going to Bayern Munich. So it is a very fluid situation, but as far as you know, Paul, he literally hasn't made his mind up. These reports in Germany that came out a while ago that he decided on Bayern Munich. I think there was reporting again that his family weren't best pleased with those reports coming out. He hasn't made his mind up yet, is what we're led to believe. Yeah, I think that would be fair to say. There was a column in possibly Kicker recently, Stefan Effenberg, the former Bayern Munich midfielder, and he was quite damning, really. He was almost saying, Florian Wirtz, pull your finger out, lad, you need to make a decision. And it was a bit like, ooh, like reading those quotes. Obviously, maybe... in places like Holland and Germany that seem a bit more, they don't mince the words perhaps like the English do, shall we say, in certain parts, but it was very strong and I was surprised by it. So it's certainly, Florian Wirtz has yet to make up his mind, and it's up to him, isn't it? If he does fancy, challenging himself in England, then Liverpool will be front of that queue in the Premier League, and I think that's a really exciting place to be because, Premier League, let's face it, is the most intense, strongest league in the world. And if he fancies a go at it, then Liverpool are going to be there, sort of letting them know that, if you fancy it, Liverpool could be a place for you. Absolutely, yeah. Keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll keep you updated on the Wirtz situation as and when it develops. Either way, and yeah, I can't wait. I hope he sign him. That is the official Steve Horse stance on this thing. I hope Liverpool sign him.